Here's an engaging story based on your title. Little boy wearing green t-shirt with Tourette, humiliated by Chinese jewelry seller. Unaware, Keanu Reeves points at the seller. The bustling streets of Hong Kong's famous night market were alive with neon lights and the chatter of vendors calling out to potential customers. Tourists and locals alike wandered the narrow alleys admiring the dazzling display of trinkets, jade ornaments and handcrafted jewelry. Among the crowd, a young boy wearing a bright green t-shirt stood nervously in front of a jewelry stall. His name was Oliver, an 11-year-old with Tourette's syndrome. He had always loved exploring markets, but today, he had hesitated. His mother had reassured him, reminding him that he was just as welcome as anyone else. But as Oliver reached out to examine a delicate silver bracelet, a loud tick escaped his lips, a sudden, involuntary sound. The jewelry seller, an elderly man with sharp eyes, immediately turned toward him frowning. "Hey, don't touch if you can't control yourself." The seller snapped, yanking the bracelet away. Several customers turned to look, their expressions ranging from surprise to discomfort. Oliver's cheeks burned with embarrassment. He lowered his hands, trying to stop the ticks that he knew would come faster now that he was stressed. His mother stepped forward. "Excuse me. That was unnecessary. My son has Tourette's, he can't control it." The seller scoffed. "Not my problem. If he breaks something, you pay double." Tears welled up in Oliver's eyes. His mother clenched her fists, ready to give the seller a piece of her mind. And then, a deep, calm voice cut through the tension. "I'll take the whole stall," said Keanu Reeves. The entire market seemed to freeze. The vendor blinked in confusion, looking up at the tall man in a black jacket and worn jeans. Keanu Reeves stood there, hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. "Sir?" the seller stammered. "You heard me," Keanu said, pointing at the seller with slow, deliberate movement. "I'll buy every piece of jewelry you have." The vendor's mouth opened and closed, struggling for words. Other shoppers gasped in recognition. Murmurs of, "That's Keanu Reeves," rippled through the crowd. Keanu turned to Oliver and knelt so they were at eye level. "What do you like, buddy?" he asked, his voice warm and gentle. Oliver hesitated, still shaken, but he managed to point at the silver bracelet. Keanu nodded, picking it up and slipping it into Oliver's small hands. "This one's yours," he said, then he turned back to the seller. "Now how much for everything?" The vendor swallowed hard. Sir, I didn't mean." Keanu's expression remained calm, but his eyes were sharp. "How much?" The seller muttered a number, and Keanu pulled out his wallet, paying without hesitation. Then, with a smirk, he turned to the surrounding crowd. "Everything's free," he announced, waving at the stall. "Take whatever you want." The market erupted into cheers as people rushed forward, grabbing necklaces, bracelets, and rings. The vendor stood frozen, realizing he had just lost everything, because he had chosen to humiliate a child instead of showing kindness. As Oliver clutched his new bracelet, he looked up at Keanu with wide, teary eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. Keanu smiled and ruffled the boy's hair. "Anytime, kid." Then, with a final glance at the speechless vendor, he walked away into the neon-lit night, leaving behind a lesson that no one in the market would forget. "Would you like any edits or additions?" As Keanu Reeves walked away, the night market still buzzed with excitement. People whispered about what had just happened, some filming and posting the scene online. Within minutes, the video went viral. Oliver, still gripping his bracelet, felt his heart racing. Not from fear or embarrassment this time, but from something else. Hope? Someone had stood up for him. Someone had made him feel seen. His mother knelt beside him, wiping away his tears. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Oliver nodded slowly, then looked down at the silver bracelet. "I like it," he said softly. A stranger nearby, still in shock from witnessing the moment, turned to them. "Your son is lucky. Not everyone gets saved by Keanu Reeves," she said with a chuckle. Oliver's mother smiled, her eyes glistening. "Yes, but I think Keanu is the lucky one too, because he met my son." Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Keanu walked through the quiet streets, his hands in his pockets, lost in thought. He didn't do things like this for attention. He just couldn't stand injustice, especially against those who couldn't fight back. As he approached his hotel, his phone buzzed with a call from an old friend. "Keanu, man. You just broke the internet. That jewelry seller's shop is getting slammed with bad reviews. People are calling him out for humiliating the kid. Keanu sighed. That wasn't the goal, he said. I know. But you did something good today, that boy. He'll never forget this. Keanu stopped walking, gazing at the city skyline. He thought of Oliver, of the look in his eyes when he had been humiliated, and then when he had been lifted up. I hope so, Keanu murmured. Everyone deserves to feel like they belong. He ended the call, took one last look at the silver bracelet on his own wrist, a quiet reminder of the night, and disappeared into the city, just another stranger with a good heart, in a world that desperately needed more of them. The end. Would you like me to expand on anything or add more details? A ripple effect. By the next morning, the entire world was talking about what had happened at the Hong Kong night market. News outlets picked up the story. Headlines like, Keanu Reeves stands up for boy with Tourette's, buys entire jewelry stole. Heart of gold, Keanu Reeves humiliates rude vendor with kindness. The video, recorded by multiple bystanders, had millions of views overnight. Social media exploded with admiration for Keanu, while the jewelry seller faced immense backlash. People demanded an apology and many vowed never to shop at his stall again. But the most important impact was on Oliver. Oliver's newfound confidence. At school, Oliver had always felt different. He was used to stares, whispers, and the occasional cruel comment about his Tourette's. But now everything had changed. Dude, Keanu Reeves stood up for you? A boy in his class asked. You're famous, another chimed in. For the first time, Oliver didn't feel like an outsider. He felt proud. His classmates asked him about the encounter, and he told them everything. How Keanu had knelt down, spoken to him like an equal, and given him the silver bracelet. When a teacher played the video in class, Oliver's face turned red, but instead of embarrassment, he felt something else. Strength. He wasn't just the kid with Tourette's anymore. He was the kid Keanu Reeves had helped. A call from an unexpected person. Meanwhile, Keanu sat in his hotel room sipping coffee when his phone buzzed with a number he didn't recognize. Hello, he answered. A warm voice came through the line. Mr. Reeves, this is Sarah Miller. I'm Oliver's mom. Keanu smiled. Oh, Mrs. Miller, how's Oliver doing? He's different, she said, her voice thick with emotion. In the best way. He used to be so self-conscious about his tics, but now he walks a little taller. Kids at school treat him like a hero. You changed his life. Keanu leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I didn't do much, he said humbly. You did more than you know, she replied. I just wanted to thank you. Keanu was silent for a moment, then asked, what does Oliver love to do? Sarah laughed softly. Movies, he's obsessed with them. Action, sci-fi, everything. Keanu grinned. Then tell him I'd love to invite him to a movie set sometime. Sarah gasped. Are you serious? Of course, Keanu said. It would be my honor. An unforgettable journey. A month later, Oliver and his mother arrived in Hollywood, where Keanu personally gave them a tour of a new action movie set. Oliver got to watch scenes being filmed, meet the crew, and even sit in one of the stunt cars. One day this could be you, Keanu told him as they stood by the cameras. Oliver's eyes sparkled. Maybe, he said, gripping his bracelet. Thanks to you, I believe I can do anything now. Keanu smiled. That's all you, kid, I just pointed the way. As Oliver and his mom left the set that evening, the boy looked up at the night sky, a world of possibilities before him. For the first time, he didn't just dream. He believed. The end. Would you like me to add anything else? A new beginning for Oliver. Back home, Oliver felt like a different person. The memories of humiliation at the market were replaced by something far greater. The moment Keanu Reeves had stood up for him and changed his life. At school, kids no longer whispered about his Tourette's. Instead, they talked about how cool it was that he had met Keanu and visited a real movie set. Teachers treated him with newfound respect, and even the bullies who once teased him seemed to keep their distance. But the biggest change wasn't in how others saw him. It was how he saw himself. One evening, as Oliver and his mom sat on the couch watching The Matrix, he turned to her with a determined look. I want to act, he said. Sarah smiled. You've always loved movies, sweetheart, but are you sure? Oliver nodded. Keanu said I could do anything. I want to try. A surprise from Keanu. A week later, a package arrived at their door. Inside was a handwritten letter and a film script. Hey Oliver, I heard you're thinking about acting. That's amazing. I wanted to send you this, one of my favorite scripts. Read it, study it, and never stop chasing your dreams. And who knows, maybe one day we'll share the big screen. Your friend, Keanu. Oliver's heart raced. He ran his fingers over the pages of the script. It wasn't just a gift, it was an opportunity. From that day forward, he practiced every night, reading lines in front of the mirror, watching classic films and studying performances. His mom helped him enroll in acting classes where he met other kids who shared his passion. And with every line he spoke, every character he embodied, he remembered Keanu's words, "You can do anything." Years later, the world had moved on from the viral market incident, but Oliver hadn't. It had shaped him, strengthened him, defined him. At 18, he stood on his first movie set, not as a visitor this time, but as an actor. As he prepared for his first scene, a familiar voice called from behind. "Hey kid, you made it." Oliver turned around to see Keanu Reeves, dressed in full costume for the film they were about to shoot together. Oliver grinned, gripping his old silver bracelet, the one Keanu had given him that night in Hong Kong. "Yeah," he said. "I did." Keanu gave him a nod, full of pride. "Let's make a movie." The end, or just the beginning? How's that for a full circle ending? Let me know if you want any tweaks. Oliver's big moment. The film set buzzed with energy, cameras, crew members, and the steady hum of Hollywood at work. Oliver stood at his mark, heart pounding. It was surreal. Just a few years ago, he had been an anxious kid in a Hong Kong night market. Now, he was about to act alongside Keanu Reeves. Keanu strolled up beside him, script in hand, dressed in full costume. He noticed Oliver taking deep breaths and patted his shoulder. "Nervous?" Oliver chuckled, shaking his head. "Excited." Keanu grinned. "That's the right answer." The director called out, "Quiet on set, and action." Oliver locked into his role. The cameras rolled. His moment had arrived. When the film premiered months later, the audience was captivated, not just by Keanu's performance but by the young newcomer who held his own on screen. Critics praised Oliver's natural charisma, his emotional depth, and his undeniable talent. The world wanted to know more about him. Interviews, magazine features, and late-night show appearances followed. But through it all, Oliver remained humble. One day, during a live interview, the host asked, "You had an incredible debut, Oliver. But tell us, what inspired you to become an actor?" Oliver smiled, looking down at the silver bracelet he still wore. "There was a time when I thought I didn't belong anywhere," he admitted, "but someone showed me kindness when I needed it most. He believed in me before I believed in myself, and that changed everything." The host leaned forward. "Can we know who that someone is?" Oliver grinned. "You already do. His name is Keanu Reeves." Keanu's reaction. Back in his home, Keanu sat watching the interview. A small smile crossed his lips. He had helped countless people over the years, but seeing Oliver succeed, seeing the kid he had once stood up for now inspiring others, meant more than words could say. His phone buzzed. A message from Oliver. "Thank you for everything. Let's make another movie someday, my treat." Keanu laughed and typed back, "I'll hold you to that, kid." And in that moment he knew. This was just the beginning of Oliver's story. Fade to black. The end or a new beginning? That's a wrap. Hope you love this full circle ending. Want any changes or additions?